Survivors hate flame turrets, and by extension they hate the Xenomorph as a result. In the past 2 weeks, behavior proposed changes that would gut the Xenomorph by making flame turrets uncounterable across the board. Thankfully, behavior walked back these changes after all of our feedback, but throughout all of my coverage of these events, there was a common sentiment among these videos echoed by survivor after survivor after survivor that these flame turrets were useless, frustrating to use, or that they just didn't know what to do to get the most out of flame turrets. Flame turrets, if you don't know, track the Xenomorph in and out of the tunnels for 41 meters, and when the Xenomorph comes within 10 meters of a flame turret, the flame turret begins throwing flames at the Xenomorph. In the current patch, the Xenomorph has 100 charges of quote-unquote health in crawler mode, making the crawler mode only last about a second and a half right now. This, of course, can be offset by Lambert's star map, which reduces the range of flame turrets from 10 meters down to 8 meters, and emergency helmet, which increases the Xenomorph's resistance to flame turrets by 35%, making it more comparable to 42 charges a second as it increases the health of the crawler mode. With these add-ons, it takes almost 2 full seconds to break the Xenomorph out of their power, which leads to immense anger and frustration in the moment when the Xenomorph retains its power despite you spending all that time to set up a flame turret. However, there is far more to flame turrets than simply breaking the Xenomorph out of crawler mode, and ways you can play to ensure that breakouts happen every single time. Thankfully, I had an excellent game on my stream on Monday illustrating near perfect use of the flame turrets, and I'm going to be going over this game with you with commentary and analysis in order to help you, the survivor mains at home, yes you, in order to have better games against the Xenomorph. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. But like, you know, it's still good to wait for that call. And one thing you're going to see here that a lot of these players do throughout this match, which is extremely helpful and something you should take into all of your Xenomorph matches, is that you should definitely be pre-running against the Xenomorph as much as you can. The way you play DBD against most killers is kind of like greeting as much as you possibly can, and when the killer gets close, you try to waste that time in chase by looping as long as possible. Xenomorph, because their tail attack is very oppressive, kind of works in a reverse order, that you try to waste the time before the chase begins because the tail attack is very oppressive. This is also the reason that the flame turrets warn you of the Xenomorph's presence for 41 meters and why that length is so long. That way it can warn you very, very early when you should be pre-running away from the character. It's neither here or there right now for this conversation whether that should be part of the character's kit, because a lot of people lament that they don't have more stealth, but this is just purely how do I play against this character well. You should absolutely be pre-running wherever it's applicable. So just own with it, you know, regardless. As you can see, because of this, Sable makes that vault. It's going to lead me into a very, very good loop, and I don't want to waste the time there, so I give up almost immediately. Turret up already. That turret that you're seeing right here is very excellently placed. That turret right there is very excellently placed. And the reason that that turret right there is very excellently placed is because it is in a dead zone. You need to think about flame turrets as placeable body blocks. Any moment you would like another survivor to step in and take a hit, that way you can buy about 3 or 4 more seconds to make it to a window, to a pallet, to whatever extra resource that you want to get to. Anywhere that it would be very, very helpful if somebody stepped in for you and took a hit. That way you could buy that extra 3 to 4 seconds to make it to another loop. That is the place that you want to place a flame turret. This is definitely a perfect example of this. And why does this actually buy 3 to 4 seconds? Well, I'll let you know. The Xenomorph has to make a choice when it encounters a flame turret. Either the Xenomorph has to stop and break it, which, you know, buys that 3 to 4 extra seconds because it gets affected by the flames, which slow it down. Then it has to break the turret and then recover after breaking the turret and then continue the chase. In those 3 to 4 seconds, you should be using that time to try to cross a dead zone or buy more time in a long loop to try and make it back to a resource. This Felix is going to use this to try and make it to the courtyard and will do so successfully. Xenomorph can choose to just get burnt out of their power here, but as you see, he's going to make the pallet either way. So if I chose to get broken out here, I would not have been able to get the M1 in time. There is a example we'll get to here in like a minute or so that is much better for asking why the Xenomorph just doesn't get burnt out of their power all the time and why that's actually very detrimental. He's blocking it though. He's cocking his own eye. Even through walls. That's such an obvious way to catch, like, cheating. Like, I don't know why hackers go for that, frankly. Damn it. I do want to say something about this loop that you're going to see is that he's about to get hit here by this attack. And I want to talk about crouching when it comes to the Xenomorph's tail attack. Because he tries to crouch here and he gets hit. Crouching is not useless against the Xenomorph. Crouching does have an application, but it's not at a loop like this. The reason crouching doesn't work at a loop like this is because the loop is only about waist high, meaning the Xenomorph can very easily arc their tail up and over the environment here. However, if you're at a loop where the height is about as tall as the survivor, if not a slightly taller, Xenomorph cannot hit you over that if you are crouching. A perfect example of this is actually on this map, the Welcome Leon desks. If you crouch under that, the Xenomorph is going to have a tremendously difficult time hitting you because he cannot get up and over the whole desk because of how tall they are. So when you're thinking about, should I crouch against the Xenomorph to avoid the tail attack, think about the height of the loop that you're at. If it's about as tall as you or slightly taller, go for it. If it's about waist high, probably not wise. Oh, back being fussy today. Not a good sign. Urchik out here, that is a good sign. He does unfortunately go down here. 100 hours, and you know I've never gotten a cheater. It's like, well, that's a good thing. And also, cheaters like to target people with higher hours or streamers. So as you see, Sable is already pre-running, and there's an excellent example of turret use here. So she pre-runs off the gen. If you look here, these turrets are very excellently placed. I'm going to explain why. So there's a flame turret up here. So she pre-runs off the gen. And like we talked about earlier, if we're thinking about flame turrets squarely in the way that they are placeable body blocks, Sable running off of this gen means that she could go up to this turret and make it to either the library loop up here or down into the locker room loop down there. Unfortunately, she pre-ran a little late, so she's going to go to another perfect example of a flame turret placement because they buy about 3 to 4 seconds on average of chase time. So if you have 3 to 4 seconds of chase time when it comes to this turret, you can either make your way up to the God pallet up here on the left, or you can make your way down to the reception loop down on the right. Essentially, no matter which way you go here, 3 to 4 seconds gets you to either of these loops. This is the flame turret I was talking about, which would be much more helpful to ask the question, why doesn't the Xenomorph just get burned out of his power and go M1 the person? First off, the Xenomorph does get slowed down by the flame turrets while they are in crawler mode. They are not at their 115 speed. So you have to waste the time getting slowed down before you break the turret. And then if you didn't know this, the Xenomorph actually has a 1 second full stun before they can take an action when they go from crawler mode to standing mode. That is a 1 second transition where they cannot do anything, that cannot be avoided. The only thing you can do is move. So I cannot make the option to be broken out here because in addition to that extra second, they are likely just going to stun me the moment I get to the pallet. I do not make enough distance to do that either way. No cheaters. Their turret placements are very good. They're very consistent. And this is where I'm beginning to notice that their flame turret placements are very good, honestly. And she uses it to continue to chain more loops together, which I know is a waste of time, so I have to go back. Drop? No? Interesting. They're going to lead me through the start? She did that drama a little late. She wants me to go through this turret. What this Claudette does here is actually fairly detrimental because, as we pointed out earlier with Felix was able to use this very same flame turret placement very well to buy that extra 3 to 4 seconds to make their way to the courtyard loop, which is still up, by the way. That pallet is still up. For some reason, Claudette decides to run back into me, which I'm not sure what the point of that is, especially considering she has a window over here and she just chooses not to use that at all. It's very odd. Hacker, like the scary ones. This flame turret here is very, very rough, and it doesn't look like it's very good, but we're going to take an analysis of why it's really, really good. This flame turret placed here looks very odd and out of place, but it's actually in a very, very good spot, and we're going to explain why. Flame turrets, like I said, should be used as mostly as body blocks to try and extend a chase by 3 to 4 seconds. We've only covered so far the ability to use it to cross dead zones to make it to loops. However, what this flame turret does is anytime you want to loop at this blue room loop, this flame turret is going to be applying flames at you from far away. I'm sure you guys have been in a situation where you're playing Survivor, where you're looping a killer and somebody goes, oh, I'll come take a hit. And they run in, they take a hit, and then you're actually able to make the shack pallet or shack window or whatever it happens to be the tile you were looping at. You actually get to make the resource now because that guy came in and took a hit for you to buy you a little bit more time. Putting this flame turret this far away from this makes it really hard to loop the blue room, especially if you're using the blue room window. Because if I'm in crawler mode and I want to chase you, I'm going to have to take a break from chasing you to walk all the way over here and break this and then continue the chase. In that case, you can either leave the loop or get to a safer spot on the loop. Essentially, it makes it to where if I'm in crawler mode, I cannot loop the blue room without dealing with this first, which is a major time buyer. Huge time buyer. The more common version of this you will see is somebody placing a turret kind of on the far side of a corner of shack or a long wall jungle gym, which kind of has the same effect where I have to stop looping midway to go break this or I lose my crawler mode. And at loops that are good, like shack, you kind of can't go at it without your tail. You have to keep your crawler mode, so you have to go break it. So this is an excellent turret for that reason, because it extends the blue room loop.
Thank you so much for the lurk. I appreciate that. People also a stack I don't have.
The Saba healer using the extra time to go ahead and make it to the god loop. She doesn't even throw the god pallet. The Saba has a very, very good understanding. I have to leave her most times in this game because she knows how to use the flame turret so well. She does make one mistake here near the end of the match, which we will comment on later to also help you improve at your Xenomorph counterplay.
They're playing really safe. They're not trying to make any like egregious mistakes. This is what they should be doing. Just rough for me, you know?
He's good fake there. He did a good job. Fortunately, he went to the well one too many times.
That's unfortunate.
That was a good fake initially.
It's not good if he goes down here. I really wish collision would work for once in its life. Holy moly. This is the character they want to nerf in the
She's putting the flame turret right back in the same spot to extend that loop. Very intelligent. And look, she's doing it again. Putting the flame turret right here buys her the choice with that 3 to 4 extra seconds to either go to the library loop over here on the right, or she can go down into the Welcome Leon room. I'm sure you're probably getting the point of this at this point, but think about the distance that 3 to 4 seconds of chase time buys you and try to place flame turrets there. Because as you can see, this Sable is like pseudo invincible, because no matter when I go to chase her, there's always a flame turret that I have to break, and after I break the flame turret, she's already at a safe loop.
Placements. Turrets do nothing, by the way. Just want to keep this evident.
This is where I start talking about it.
As long as they're not breaking the Xenomorph out of the power, they're not helpful. That's what I'm learning from DVD.
Which is incorrect. It's incorrect, which is what I'm trying to illustrate with this video.
They have to do expressly one thing, or else they're not worth it. Hey, Taki. How's it going?
Yeah, unfortunately he had a syringe going.
Yeah,
so
syringe.
These guys were very, very good, and they definitely wanted to win.
Best streak number and current streak number not match, because and current streak is my new best. Like, how far am I now? That makes sense? So I had a previous streak that I've already submitted at 56. This is the one I'm currently doing. It's at 101.
Once again, the pre-running you're seeing here, this time from Claudette.
I need to kill him.
Very, very good.
But quite frankly, he might just have a... Yeah,
once again,
safe for this shit.
the perfect turret placement here at the top of the stairs. Making it to where I can even pressure this gen very well, because every time I would go to chase somebody, they're already somewhere safe. But if I don't chase them, they just get back on the gen. It's a lose-lose for me. Immaculate. These guys were great. These guys were fantastic. I was genuinely impressed.
They healed him already too. That's rough. We have 3 gens about to pop. Not good news for us. They're not like being out of position like at all. That's the problem.
And I think that's the biggest key to playing well against Xenomorph, is I feel like a lot of people, especially when it comes to like quote unquote fun or playing like efficient, you guys see a lot of like Survivor creators play very greedy and play very risky because they think it's more exciting, it's better content, and it inspires people to kind of play in a similar way. But the Xenomorph, you beat them by good positioning, good pre-runs, good placement of turrets. Because as you can see, I can't do much to these guys. If I committed to any of these chases besides the ones where Claudette or Felix have been slightly out of position, and it's only slightly, like I would be losing this game so fast. So fast. So it's better to not think of your games as Xenomorph as how well can I loop this killer to buy enough time for gens to get done, but how can I have such good positioning and situational awareness, not the bird, to try and waste as much time of the Xenomorphs as possible.
They just have to play it straight.
Thankfully I got her tied down to a fairly weak loop for this character in particular. She is going to go into a better loop though. Rough. Even knowing to double back there, so good. So good.
Making like 0 mistakes. It's crazy. I gotta go for her. I gotta start getting my extra ping rushes and grims out if I'm gonna win this.
This desk was the desks I was talking about earlier, by the way. These ones. these RPD desks right here in the Welcome Leon room, if you crouch over these, the Xenomorph, this is like, the Xenomorph would have to clear this, get all the way over and touch you down on the floor. That's not going to happen. These are the kind of loops that crouching would be helpful on.
That's huge. Really good. There's my last stack. Need to go for that.
If I was not running such a strong and impressive build for this, I would not have done well here. This turret is actually kind of not great that she places here. Not only is it a fairly narrow hallway, meaning that I can use the environment to kind of sneak in and break this turret, but it also is extending a loop that is already so weak that I'm probably getting the hit no matter what anyways. One of the biggest tips I can give to you guys, that is a big error that I see among survivors placing flame turrets, is they place them like right up against objects, whether that be walls, whether that be fire barrels, whether that be rocks. In order for the Xenomorph to be slowed down or broken out of their power, they need to be under sustained flames. So the flame turret actually has to be shooting at them. But if you put it behind an object like that, you're not going to be getting a lot of sustained fire. So you don't even get the true like 3 to 4 seconds of slowdown. Like you barely get any distance off of that. So try to make sure you guys are placing them more out in the open and not around like right up against an object or a corner or something to that extent.
I can get that hint. That's also in the guide ultimate. It's gonna be kind of hard to answer that in the middle of a street game, so I'd encourage you to look at that and then ask me again maybe after the game is over. I believe it's wreckers, and then it's like,
that was another good flame turret too, because once again, that flame turret, if somebody's running in that hallway where there's no loop, that buys you enough time to make it to the locker room. It buys you enough time to make it to the records room. It buys you enough time to go back to that pallet if it weren't just thrown in the Welcome Leon room, because within 3 or 4 seconds, you can make it to all of those loops.
okay. Now we get Fulgrim. Excellent. Like being so cool? I don't know. I'll let you know when it happens, though. I'll 100% let you know what happens. I don't want her. I need like Felix. That could be, dude.
Yeah, unfortunately, while Felix has been playing really well this whole time, he is quote unquote the weak link of the team. And if I did not find him here, I was cooked. I was absolutely cooked if I did not find him here.
Take it back. You're cool. No, you're cool. Felix is dead. And they know it. They're taking hits from.
I think survivor teams that know the importance of taking hits use flame turrets so well.
I hope you're doing fine.
That's definitely a correlation I've seen, because they already get how that mechanic works.
Yeah, they know, dude. That's crazy.
Once again, you see this perfect turret here. Nothing I can do anything about.
I really needed that to hit. That is bullshit.
That sucks. So if you guys don't know this, for some reason there is a modifier in the files that gives the Xenomorph 5 meters, and I don't know what it is. It's really weird. But it kind of creates this weird, like, kind of phantom effect sometimes, where you go for max range shots, you don't hit them because your muscle memory is weird with like the 4.8. Somebody out there,
That's so cringe, dude.
if somebody out here can be able to get into game files and show me that and what that actually does, that'd be great.
Victory. It's great. What an E. It wasn't even a good E. He just did it right after throwing the pallet, where it was like easy to hit.
Yeah, like Dead Hard under pallets is just like
the moment we started
value for free.
Not a bad team. I respect it.
But Dead Hard's like when they're out in the open, that stuff's crazy. I don't know how people do that. Perfect place start again.
You gotta know what they're doing.
Buying 3 to 4 seconds from them to get anywhere.
That's my
This was kind of a pseudo double turret setup, and this is how you guys should set double turret setups. So what's really special about this setup, and it's how you should set up double turret setups, because if you want the Xenomorph to be confirmed burn out of their power, you should be using double turret setups. That is the only way to confirm for surezies get them out of their power. And the reason this is a perfect double turret setup is because they're not placed side by side. If you place the flame turrets side by side, like say there's one right immediately to the left of the one that we're looking at right here, Xenomorph actually can strafe and hit both, because hitting flame turrets counts technically as a miss for the Xenomorph, which is good because that implies, or yeah, that applies the movement speed penalty that they get for missing a tail attack. The benefit to you as the Xenomorph is that because it counts as a miss, your hitbox does not deactivate, so you can technically strafe across both of those and hit both of them. So when you're setting up a double turret setup, you should set it up like this, where there's one kind of close and then there's one about like 5 or 6 feet away. That way the Xenomorph cannot just strafe and use its tail attack to break both at the same time out in the open, but more so that it's going to stagger it, affect it with mostly getting close to a breakout, but not quite, but then immediately hitting it with the rest. Which is why this was a perfect double turret setup.
Yep.
Especially considering that one was hidden around a wall, so I didn't even see it.
This is unfortunate all I have. They're playing too well.
Because I couldn't react to something I didn't see coming.
Thank you, auto aim. Holy fuck.
I'm kind of crashing out of it in this, but I was really afraid of losing the strike.
It's the current streak I'm doing now. I will change the lettering if it's that confusing. My apologies.
We're already down to 1 gen.
Confusion.
But we are not in a good spot here. Thankfully, I do find Claudette here.
They are resetting.
Most of this game boils down to this gen right here. And this becomes a very focal point for the rest of the match. Very big focal point.
Is this going to be hard because it's not a 3 gen? I have 1 ping res left. Huh?
Once again, perfect turret placement here.
I'm going to go.
The double turret setup getting me again. This is the funny thing.
They know it.
This is the funny thing, is like people talk about like I can never burn the Xenomorph out of their power, but like this Sable has been consistently burning me out of my power since she started doing that double setup, turret setup in that corner, because I cannot literally react to it in time. I would have to stop, break one, wait for my power to fully recover, then go break the other one, which is just such a substantial waste of time, especially at 1 gen on a streak breaking game, that I cannot waste time to break both of these. I have to just eat the power here. So if you really want the Xenomorph to be broken out of their power, please use your double turret setups and please space them out slightly. That way the Xenomorph can't just break both in quick succession.
They're doing. I think it's crazy they're nerfing him so badly in the PTB.
And this is before I knew the changes were reverted.
Very rough with double turret setups.
This is before I knew the changes were being reverted.
Okay, we got dead mins on this, which is good. That's a whole gen we don't have to worry about for a while.
Fortunately, this Tari had balance. Pretty
She's
rough.
intentionally leading me towards the other gen, which is really good. This is also not a very good area to loop anyways. We need a down or something here. Other gen isn't being worked on. Good for us. This. Oh, it was already gone. Big greediness.
Once again.
I
I'm right there.
Did that hit behavior? Can we get our collision together, please, dude?
You know what's funny? This is an aside. I'm stressed watching this.
Not a good loop
I
down.
already know the result of this match, obviously, but I'm stressful just rewatching this. It was such a tense match, and they played so well. I was so proud of them.
Far along already. Might lose right here to a very good team, I will add.
Yeah,
Very
I'll
good
give them their flowers. They were so good.
Playing very safe. That's almost done. That's crazy.
This is the game mistake, like the game-winning mistake right here, is that Sable gets greedy for the save. It's the only mistake she's made besides this one. So what Sable did here is actually really, really inefficient and a waste of the flame turrets. So we've been talking about so far in this match analysis that double turret setups are the go-to way to break these Xenomorph out of their power with not a whole lot they can do about it, if anything, really. But the Sable here very curiously decides she's going to use 3 flame turrets in the main hall here. You only need 2 turrets to set up to try and break the Xenomorph out of their power. Why? Because like a lot of things that function like this in DBD, like the Myers stock, only 1 flame turret applies charges at one time. Why double turrets work is because it's the sustained flame charges that the Xenomorph cannot possibly deal with in time that break it out of its power. So even though you go and you break the first turret, you don't get a break and the fire keeps hitting you. Or like in the example of them putting it in the blue room hallway, I only have like a 0.3 second break and then I immediately get hit with flames again. So the sustained flames are how double turrets confirm break the Xenomorph out of their power. Double turrets already accomplish this because double turrets, you can already not break both in time in order to keep your power unless they're placed like literally smack dab next to each other and then you tail attack them. Her using 3 here is pointless because I already am going to lose my power to the 2 of them. So putting up 3 here doesn't do anything. You only need a maximum of 2 per setup. So this is the only mistake this table makes with flame turrets the entire game.
That's fine.
And as you see here, even though I take the choice to get burned out, if she would have made that pallet there, if it was still up, that pallet was still up, she still makes that.
Overkill, by the way. Only do 2.
That was still a helpful use.
Yeah, she's not. They're going back to this Shin. Okay. Now I'll force the
yeah, because now they're in a bad spot because there's 2 people injured that have to go get this save. So I have to pick between the Jen and her.
I think I'm gonna play for the end game here. Oh, she's done.
Fortunately, I am able to interrupt the Gen completion. Usually I wouldn't kick this here, but with it that close and it being a streak-breaking match, that would be heartbreaking if it came down to that. Once again, flame turret in a position where it buys her 3 to 4 seconds to get to a loot. Unfortunately, the pallet's gone. Do you want to made it to the pallet? But the pallet's gone. So their wastefulness early in the match is kind of coming back to haunt them, but they would still be making these resources if they were up. That's why they were such a good team.
Okay. I just have to camp this.
It's a 3K minimum rules, so as long as I get a 3K, even if somebody escapes out the door, 3K minimum.
Good job.
So she does get out the door, obviously. I take my safe 3K.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing PB, but then people are like, what?
As you can see, very, very good team. Syringe, BNP, gel dressings, Styptic. Very, very good builds to align with that as well. Very excellent, great team. And if I have names hidden, so you can't see that, but if you were in this team and you did this, like, excellent job. Flowers to you. That was awesome. You guys perfectly exemplified why flame turrets are not useless and showed off how they can be used to be really, really effective and make a very, very grating match for the Xenomorph. So, in review, if you guys have not been paying attention up until this point, try to use flame turrets as placeable body blocks. So anywhere that you would get 3 to 4 seconds of extra chase time would allow you to make a window, pallet, or a really, really good tile, something like that. Try to place turrets in those places that would buy you that 3 to 4 extra seconds that would get you to somewhere helpful. If you really want to break the Xenomorph out of their power, make sure you use double turret setups, but make sure you don't put them too close together because the Xenomorph can strafe and hit both. Put them kind of slightly staggered outwards. That way it will get mostly broken out of its power, and then within like a half a second is immediately into the next one, because that's basically unavoidable. You can also use flame turrets to extend already good loops by placing them at the edge or slightly distantly from an already good loop like Shack. That way the Xenomorph has to take a break essentially mid-chase to go break the turret and then resume chase, which is a huge time waster. Also remember with double turret setups that 2 is good. You don't need to ever have 3 or 4 in one area to break the Xenomorph out of the power. 2 already gets the job done just fine, so you will never need more than 2 in one scenario. Also, some things that didn't really pop up in this match in particular that is also helpful advice. This one kind of popped up, but try to make sure that your turrets, if you can, if this is available to you, kind of try to hide them. Put them in like a bush or a piece of foliage, because the little beeping light on top is easy for the Xenomorph to see, but if it's in a bush or something, you kind of can't tell. It kind of happened in this match with that hallway one next to the blue room because I couldn't see it because it was just out of line of sight, but try to do this with foliage and other obstacles that you find on the map as well. And in addition, probably the biggest mistake I see survivors make is try not to use flame turrets right outside the control stations, because it just makes it for an easy break for the Xenomorph while getting no value, because the turrets go on deactivation mode when a Xenomorph first pops out of the control station. So try to space those out a little bit from the control stations, even if you're working on a gen next to a control station. That way you can actually get some value out of the flame turret. All right, after that analysis, I hope you survivor mains out there are going to have a better time against the Xenomorph now that you have a better idea of how to use the flame turrets. If you want to see more game analysis like this, this. Make sure you like and comment in order to let me know. Other than that, I'll see you all in the next video. And if I do not, well, you know the thing I always say. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.